Having a franchise as big as Sonic the Hedgehog, naturally you'd have rules and guidelines to keep your brand under control, especially when it has things such as comics and cartoons. And that's why mandates exist, to keep everything consistent and true to the brand. However, throughout the past decade or so of this series, we have seen quite a few interesting mandates appear, seemingly out of nowhere, and are quite questionable ones at that. So, that's what we're talking about today. Some have been brought up by Sonic Team head Takashi Iizuka in interviews, and some were mentioned by IDW writer Ian Flynn on his podcast. And today we're being joined by fellow Sonic fan ChannelPup. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, yeah, not bad, how are you?
I'm doing great. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin.
Sonic isn't a very complicated character. His well-known character traits are his optimism and excitement for adventure, and often confidently runs into danger with a smirk on his face, and likes to give motivational speeches to others. But a character, particularly your main character, should be able to have a wide range of emotions for whatever storytelling reason may require. A good example would be his frustrations at the beginning of Unleashed in when he becomes the Werehog. More recently in Sonic history, the IDW comics did a great job of showing Sonic dealing with the Zombot virus, but Sonic Team themselves, well, it's entirely possible that this mandate exists because...
I'm supposed to be the fastest, but I was too slow to save my buddy.
They're gonna turn Tails into a robot! That's horrible! Like, no joke, Lost World went from 0 to 200 in terms of characters acting in this game. Why are you acting like this, Sonic? So, next time we see Sonic, he's always chilled, always after, 6 months of being tortured in prison, still quipping as usual. He's still smiling and joking, and, does he feel anything? Like, can he feel anything? Anyway, this also extends to Sonic having a love interest. I mean, honestly, it's not like the character ever seemed interested in that anyway, but the Archie comics were all over Sonic's love life. And then of course there was 06. So, that speaks for itself. Sorry, Sonamy fans.
This is a strange one, but for whatever reason, money and currency are not allowed to exist in the Sonic world, as we have heard from both Ian Flynn for writing the IDW comics and Tyson Hess, who made the Mania and Team Racing shorts, the latter of which did feature a gift store. This mandate is particularly strange because money has actually appeared in previous Sonic games. Heck, there are entire levels dedicated to being casinos, as well as the fact that there are multiple games featuring stores where you can buy items in exchange for rings. We even occasionally see coins and dollar bills. And to make this one even more confusing is Vector the Crocodile, who even in recent games has the character trait of wanting to be rich and making a profit, and often talks about needing to pay the rent for his detective agency, so, whoops.
I was gonna just mention, the Unleashed store, but now that you mention it, yeah, if there's no currency, what's with all the casinos about, It's ridiculous.
Even in Adventure, there's not just rings, but there are, coins in the treasure room, the vault, with, Sonic's face on them and everything.
Another one we hear from Ian Flynn is that there is apparently no political system. Sounds good to me, but what? That is a rather specific thing, but I mean, Sonic Adventure 2 onwards, there has been a government entity known as United Federation who have their own advanced military known as GUN, and is controlled by the president who lives in the White House. Need I say more? Also, what does GUN stand for again, by the way?
It stands for something, but I've already...
It's government something, isn't it? It's government unified ninjas.
You know what?
I don't know.
I'm gonna Google it right now. It stands for Guardian Units of Nations.
Well, you know what? That's still... I'm gonna change it to Government Units of Nations, so that way they really sound stupid. Headcanon.
Of course Shadow doesn't have friends. He is a Dark Edgelord. He doesn't need anybody, and only cares about himself, is what you'd probably think if you've only heard of the character online for the past decade without playing a game that has a story centered on him. Truth is, Shadow is a deep character with a complicated and tragic backstory, and is the way he is for multiple story reasons, and unfortunately the character had not had much significant speaking roles since 2006, and since then has gained a reputation through memes and fan content as an edgelord, and has been treated as such in his recent appearances, such as Sonic Team Racing and IDW comics. I swear, in TSR he says something along the lines of, "You're gonna get in that cart and race me so I can beat you, Kakarot!" The idea of him not being friends with Team Dark is not only ridiculous, but contradictory to his stories, as his arc in Sonic Adventure 2 concludes with him making the decision to put his trust into Sonic and the others, and was even prepared to lay down his own life to give the people on Earth a second chance, and has been shown time and time again, as much as he doesn't like to show it, he actually cares about others, and a lot more than you'd think, and grows quite close to Rouge and Omega, as the three have things in common. So saying Shadow has no friends and prefers to be alone really undermines his story arc across the early 2000s. As a matter of fact, the edgelord loner character was how the Boom version of Shadow was portrayed.
Don't make me laugh. You're weak. I've suffered your presence long enough.
Which is fine, because Boom is a different interpretation of these characters, but come on, mainline Shadow is a different story.
Also, that can't be possible because Shadow is my best friend. Also, he thinks I've got a nice... The series started in 1991 with very little and would build itself up over its next few titles. Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles all took place on different islands, as well as of course the tiny planet for Sonic CD, and each introduces new characters who continue to be significant to this day, but by the time of 1998 would get redesigns for the Sonic Adventure era. However, there have also been a few other characters introduced in the classic era in spin-offs from arcade and Game Gear titles such as Mighty the Armadillo, Ray the Flying Squirrel, Fang the Sniper, Bean the Dynamite, and Bark the Polar Bear, none of which have been seen since, until we had our return to the classic era in 2017's Sonic Mania, where the latter three appear as cameo illusions, and later on Mighty and Ray would be fully fledged playable characters, yet for whatever reason apparently none of these characters are able to appear in the modern titles as they belong to the classic world. Which is strange because Mighty the Armadillo appeared in a game called Knuckles Chaotix, in featuring Vector the Crocodile, Espio the Chameleon, and Charmy the Bee, all three of which would appear later in 2003's Sonic Heroes and continue to appear in modern titles to this day. But according to Takashi Iizuka, our great overlord, the versions of them in Sonic Heroes were supposedly made as entirely new characters based on those from Knuckles Chaotix, whatever that's supposed to mean. It's quite strange to separate these two eras of the series if it's to prevent confusion. Like, I can kinda see what they might be going for there, but to me, it seems a little unnecessary. For one thing, Sonic Adventure had no implication of being a reboot. As a matter of fact, events from Sonic CD and Sonic 3 aren't directly acknowledged, and the redesigns were only made mid-development, as initially Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Eggman would retain their classic appearances before being changed for technical reasons. It's usually natural for characters to change and update as time goes by, as this has happened for many franchises, and you probably wouldn't have thought anything of it. If Sonic looked like this, then he just looks like this now. That was until 2011's Sonic Generations reintroduced the 90s era Sonic and his gameplay, marking the two Sonics as Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic. However, in the game's context, Classic Sonic, rather than being treated as from another world, is treated as the exact same Sonic, but from the past.
Hope you learned a few tricks that'll help you out in the future. I mean, the past. You know what I mean.
Even the level cityscape features posters of the classic characters Fang, Bean, Bark, Ray, and Mighty. So it is clear that Generations doesn't follow this mandate, making it unclear to pinpoint when this was put into action.
That is kind of weird, because like, with a lot of these mandates, they have been brought to light more in the like latter half of the 2010s, but it's like, I don't know, they feel like they were just sort of decided on a whim, you know?
Yeah, it does. It feels like super recent, like this was... It feels like this is like the Forces effect, you know?
I mean, at some point, like, classic Sonic wasn't even considered for being a separate entity. Like, Sonic 4 Episode 1 was trying to be a classic game, but with modern Sonic's design, so...
Like, what even is cohesion, you know?
The American Sonic media in the 90s had a tendency to do whatever, leading to the comics and cartoons having Sonic living on a world known as Mobius. This, of course, had nothing to do with the source material, as at this point the games had not fully established this world. As the classic era jumps from multiple islands filled with mountains, caves, ruins, and loop-the-loops, and starting from the animated short Man of the Year featured in Sonic Jam, we'd see both humans and modern cities, which would later appear in Sonic Adventure and continue to appear for years to come, with real-life landmarks such as New York, San Francisco, and more are used as reference, as many 3D Sonic locations are blended seamlessly with nature, mechanical, fantasy, and sci-fi elements. Then, Sonic Colors came out, and along with it, an interview with Takashi Iizuka telling us that the Sonic series takes place across a Sonic world and a human world. This one tidbit alone has sparked so much debate and confusion across the community. On one hand, it does seem plausible, and why doubt the words coming from the head of Sonic Team himself? And for others, none of it made sense whatsoever. As in the games themselves, Sonic had never been shown jumping back and forth between a Sonic world and a human world. The only thing close to this is when Sonic and Tails got trapped in Blaze's dimension. It is also strange that this was never mentioned in any games prior. The only thing remotely similar was from Sonic X, where Sonic and friends are stranded in the real world and meet Chris Thorndike. The first season does its own thing with the setup, but by Season 2, the two worlds fuse to accommodate for adapting the stories of the adventure games. You see where I'm going with this? In Sonic Adventure, the main human-populated city Station Square is a train ride away from Mystic Ruins, where Tails' workshop is located. And deep in the woods past there is the remains of an ancient Echidna tribe, who seemingly have been around for thousands of years, and what's hinted to be the original location of Angel Island from Sonic 3, which also appears in this game. Tails' same workshop also appears in Sonic Rush, as well as Cream the Rabbit's house and a gun battleship. And it seems the human locals do not find anthropomorphic, cartoony animal characters out of the ordinary at all. Same goes for Adventure 2 and Shadow the Hedgehog, speaking of which, there is also the fact that Shadow was created by humans 50 years prior to the events of the games. Feels kinda weird that he would resemble a creature from another world. Coincidence, huh? It's very possible this statement about two worlds was made to phase out the human elements, as in Sonic 06 they got a lot of negativity, most likely due to the clashing art styles. Sonic & Co. still being cartoony but sharing screen with very realistic styled humans and animals. And what are these animations? Is this considered normal? And I would like to elaborate on the fact that apart from the human-like animals such as Sonic and Friends, regular small non-talking animals have been present from the beginning. Sonic Unleashed seems to get humans right, as they resembled that of Pixar characters matching the cartoony art style of Sonic, but this wasn't appreciated until years later, as Sonic Unleashed did not get much positivity back when it came out after Sonic 06. Most people called out werewolf transformations and swords as gimmicky, and by 2010 they most likely wanted to phase out the human world and focus on the quote, Sonic world onwards, and get familiar with locations such as grassy plains, and blocky Minecraft plain, and City on Fire. Yeah, Sonic Team, are you just gonna ignore all the world building that went into your human world? Iconic locations, the place that got attacked by black aliens, the world that apparently the Chaos Emeralds originated from, Gaia Temples, Earth being created and all that, place where all the Chow Gardens are, where the Echidna history took place, and so on. Whew. I don't know, this mandate is... Either way you slice it, it's a confusing one, and feels like it wasn't really needed, as it's very inconsistent with previous games. I'm not demanding they put things back to the way they were, I just wish it officially... If it was two worlds, they'd try to explain it, but who knows, maybe things will be handled differently in future games, who knows.
Yeah, I think there's like way too much with Sonic, where you kind of just have to take their word for it, you know? Like, there's not really any evidence that it takes place on two different worlds, other than just sheer inconsistency. Yeah, there's a lot with, like, Sonic that's just not in the games, but we're supposed to know it. Like, for example, Tails likes mint candies, Knuckles is afraid of girls, Amy likes tarot card readings. Like, when is that ever referenced in any of these video games?
Well, mint
isn't,
candies
you know?
were a power-up in Tails Sky Patrol.
Okay, this I guess fair enough, but like, in the mainline game, could there not at least be like a slight mention of that? If anything, Knuckles is the least scared of girls out of the bunch.
I mean,
Like-
to be fair, this was all supplementary material, and games of that era always had, like, extra information and backstory in the manuals and stuff, but I'm gonna be honest, all the things mentioned in interviews and whatnot, it does seem kind of sort of made up on the spot, you know what I mean?
Like, I think the Sonic movie did a great job with establishing that, the two worlds thing. Takeshi, we can't just rely on your word for things all the time.
This is the man who claimed Hypersonic isn't canon after all. And to be fair, like, he is just a human being. It is possible that he may have forgotten stuff that's previously established, or like he was just thinking on his feet and it's like, you know what? Yeah, two worlds. Sonic crosses over between a human world and an animal world. That's what we're going with.
I mean, didn't he also say that there is no real canon or continuity in Sonic's universe? Okay, well, why do we keep referencing things in these games then, you know?
It's the equivalent of saying, okay, you're saying this, but the thing you made is saying something else.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't personally play Sonic for the storytelling, but, like, I do wish they would put a little bit of thought into it.
You can just tell playing game to game that it's like, for a few games in a row, it's like, yeah, this feels cohesive, this seems like it's the same world, and then all of a sudden you have a complete corner turn where it's like, okay, you can feel there's been a change in direction here.
And I think it's that constant tug of war between, oh, this is an anniversary game, and oh, this is a brand new experience, and it just, yeah, it all gets all muddled, and it's just, yeah, you can't take anyone's word for anything these days, because it, as you say, it's in direct conflict with the actual final product. There was a lot of audience backlash where there didn't need to be with Sonic Unleashed, and Sega just kind of learned the wrong lessons from that. Like, I can understand there being some backlash towards the Hedgehog. I really empathize with the people that didn't want that playstyle in there. But I think, like, overall, there was a lot of bile towards that game that was just unnecessary.
There's just so many things that happen where it's like fans are tugging back and forth on their opinions, and Sega and Sonic Team don't know what to do. Like, for years and years, from the 90s up to the 2000s, people were writing letters and requesting for Sonic to use a gun or something, and like, okay, we don't think that's for Sonic, but hey, we'll create this character Gamma who can make shooting sections. And then Shadow the Hedgehog comes out and like, you know what? This is what people wanted. Hedgehog packing heat. Here you go. And then everyone responds with, why would you give him a gun? What is wrong with you? So, those were some of the stranger mandates of the Sonic series that have cropped up over the 2010s, and that have sparked many inconsistencies or debates in the Sonic fandom. And thank you for joining us today, Pup.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for having me, man. It's been fun.
So, would you like to plug your channel now?
Obviously, I'm ChannelPup. I occasionally do videos on Sonic, but other pop culture nerd content and stuff like that. So, if you're into that kind of stuff, you go check out my channel.
So, I can assume you'll know how to make your way back to your own channel from here?
Yeah, I know the way home.
I was gonna offer you either a pair of web shooters or a vortex manipulator to make your way home, but...
Oh, you know what? I'll choose the vortex manipulator. Okay, well, see you later.
Pup? I'm sure he's fine. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your feedback, and be sure to share this videos with others you'd think would enjoy it. But until next time, stay tuned, stay awesome.